Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gene's Reviews. Reviews from a regular dude, where I do trailer reactions, I react to YouTube videos, I review YouTube channels. Occasionally, I'll review a movie, but really, I just do whatever the hell I want. Hello, everybody. How y'all doing on this fabulous Monday? I know, I agree, but a few days ago, I did a video on people having a bad day, and I mentioned that I've had some pretty bad days, and I thought I'd just talk about them a little bit with you today, because some of the people said that they wanted to hear them. I made a video like this probably a couple years ago, talking about some of my worst days at work, and that's pretty much what this is going to be. Okay, I'm going to start out with, I think it was the very first bad day that I had that was really, really bad. I worked for a trucking company, and if you're in the United States, I'm sure you've seen their trucks. It was called E.A. Miller and Sons, Blue Ribbon Beef. Seen their trucks all over the United States. But I drove what was called the shuttle truck, and the shuttle truck basically backs the trucks, or backs the trailers into the doors so that they can get loaded, and then pulls them out, runs them across a scale and weighs them, and then parks them for the drivers to pick up. And they had what's called common carriers at this meatpacking plant, which is basically another company would come in and drop off their trailer to be loaded, and we would back that trailer into the dock to get loaded. And I backed this trailer in to get loaded with some swinging meat. And swinging meat, it shifts. It's really, really dangerous to drive, and especially with those shuttle trucks, because when you back under the shuttle truck, you raise it up so it puts the center of gravity a lot higher, and it makes it more wobbly, so you don't lift it up that high. But then you have to be careful of the landing gear, that it's not going to scrape on the ground and stuff. So I backed this trailer into the dock. They got it all loaded with the swinging meat and everything, like big sides of beef. They called me to have it pulled out. The way that they backed into this place, you had to back in and then around and into the dock. And it was on kind of a hill. You'd be going up a hill when you pulled out of the dock. As I pulled out, I got out of the truck, went around and tried to close the back doors, and they wouldn't meet. They was off like about this much. I couldn't get them latched. So I thought, well, I'll get it on level ground, and then I'll get it latched. So I raised it up a little bit, and as I pulled out of the dock and turned left to go, I was going uphill. I felt the trailer kind of rock. It rocked the truck and everything, and I just grabbed onto the steering wheel and tried to lower it down the rest of the way, but I didn't get to it. My hand slipped, and it basically took the truck that I was in up into a wheelie, slammed it down on its left-hand side, truck, trailer, everything, right there in the parking lot. And I smacked my leg, the inside of my leg, on the steering wheel of the shuttle truck. And I was basically bruised from my groin, really, really, really bad bruise, from my groin all the way down to my ankle on the inside of my right leg. Well, they took pictures of the trailer and everything. Of course, the loaders, the guys who loaded it, had to come out, and they had to back another trailer up to it and unload everything off of that trailer onto this new one. And they was pretty upset about it, but they took pictures of the trailer, and it was all rusted out, and it should have never been loaded to start with. So they determined that wasn't my fault. So I didn't get in any trouble for that one, other than I just did get off work for a couple days because of my leg. So that was really bad, and it was right by the boss's offices where it happened. So they heard the crash, and they actually all came running out to make sure that I was okay. And those shuttle trucks, they have just like a little window on the side that slides, and it's really not very big. It's pretty small, actually. I had to crawl out of that because I was on my side. So I had to crawl out of that to get out of it. But I didn't have to go to the hospital or anything. I did go to the doctor just to get my leg treated, but that was it. Then another bad day at work. Same place. I was driving that shuttle truck again, backed the trailer into what was called box cooler, where they loaded the boxed meat. And they called for it to be pulled out. I was really, really busy. So I backed in, pulled it out, got out, closed the doors, pulled around to the side, and set that trailer down. And unhooked it and everything, and took off to go do something else. And everything was fine. Took off, went and did the other thing, came back. That trailer was laying completely on its side. The landing gear was rusted out on that one side, and it had snapped. And so the whole trailer went over. They had to come out. I had to back another trailer up to that. And they had to come out and unload it from the trailer that tipped over onto that trailer. They were pretty unhappy, but that wasn't my fault either. It was the equipment. Okay. What else? Oh, another job I had at that same company. This was a really, really bad day. I drove locally for them for a while, and I used to drive to Ogden, Utah, which was about an hour drive away, and deliver what's called tallow. And what tallow is it's basically beef fat that's liquefied. And they used it at this place for dog food, to make dog food. And they use it for all kinds of different stuff. But that's basically what this place used it for, was for dog food. Well, I took a tanker there, weighed it. Well, they knew how much weight was on it and everything. Hooked it all up to the hose, hooked all the hoses up to it when I got to the place to unload it. And it wasn't coming out. And I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't come out. The valves were all open. Everything was cool. It should have been unloading. But it wasn't. The pump was on. Nothing was working. So I closed all the valves. And I took the hose off. And I was like digging with a pipe. There in the hose, or in the pipe that the hose connects to, it was all plugged up. And so I was digging this dried tallow out, which it's like Crisco. When it's liquid, after it sits for a while, it turns hard. And that's basically what it had done in this pipe. And I was digging it all out so that it would flow when I hooked the hose back up to it. But it went and sucked that pipe in. And as I pulled the pipe out, all this tallow came rushing out. And it's hot so that it doesn't harden like it did in the pipe. And so I'm trying to put the cap on. It's spraying all over the place. It was an absolute nightmare. It was going all over the place. I couldn't get the cap on. I finally did. I crawled under and was trying to crank the valve closed. It was already closed. But I finally got the cap on. Called my boss, told him what had happened. It was all over me. It's like being doused in Crisco. And he told me to take the trailer to the scale and weigh it to see how much tallow was lost. So I took it to the scale and weighed it, and we lost 15,000 pounds of tallow in the streets of Ogden, Utah. So the company I worked for, Miller's, had to pay to have the sewers cleaned in Ogden, Utah, because it went down the street and into the sewer drains and everything. It was a real nightmare. Well, I thought for sure, I'm fired now. I'm done. I'm going to have to find a different job tomorrow. Well, my boss called me up the next morning, and he was kind of laughing over the telephone. And he says, "Come on in. I have something to show you." And I went in to work. And what had happened is whoever cleaned the tallow tank, the tanker out, had dropped a spray nozzle in there. So when they closed the valve, it left it open just about that much, and that spray nozzle was stuck down in the valve to keep it open. So it left it open about that much, and when they filled it up, all that tallow went down into the pipe and hardened into the pipe, but it didn't harden in the tank. So when I got that broke loose, of course, it's got nowhere to go. And I can't get it closed any tighter because that spray valve is stuck in there. And the spray valve was bent like a horseshoe where we'd been cranking on it, trying to get the valve closed, because I thought maybe the valve wasn't closed all the way. And it wasn't, but it wasn't my fault. So I didn't get in trouble for that one either. But yeah, it was crazy. Those were just a few of my really bad days. I've had some others, but not as bad as that. That one, I would say that one with the tallow and tipping the trailer of the sides of beef over in the yard. Those were the two worst days I've had as far as at work. If you've had any, let me know in the comments down below. I hope everyone's doing good. And now, how about a joke? It's time for a joke to brighten your day. I was going to join the debating team the other day, but someone talked me out of it.